Hello, I'm Sonia Doubell and you're watching The Secret Bliss. Today we have Anna Hunt with us. Anna is a London-based shaman and the author of the Shaman In Stilettos. If you've just joined us, this is part 2 of the interview. Part 1 is all about Anna's journey, an incredible true story, how she moves from being a celebrity interviewer for one of the highest selling newspapers in the UK to finding herself in the Amazonian rainforest where for months she drank one of the most potent hallucinogens known to man while apprenticing for a Peruvian shaman. So we are going to move into the second part of this interview, which is all about her work, the work she does, the retreats, the workshops, and what is a shaman. So Anna, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So for those viewers out there who've never even heard of the word shaman, can you describe what a shaman is?
Absolutely. So 2 parts to this answer. The first thing to say about a shaman is that traditionally in Peru, which is where my teacher's based, a shaman is a normal man or woman. A shaman will be married, part of the community, and a shaman will have a job, traditionally as a landowner or as a farmer. In my case, I'm a writer, a journalist. Part-time, this man or woman will work as a healer, a medicine man, a medicine woman. So how does a shaman heal? If we look at Einstein's work, Einstein said everything is energy. That's all there is to it. This is not philosophy, this is physics. A shaman is a man or woman of power who can see energy and who uses a range of techniques to help clients shift energy. It follows from Einstein's work that if you can shift energy, if you can move energy, you can alter life. In our culture, we believe that thoughts and feelings are random nothings, and that a way of dealing with difficult thoughts and emotions is to focus on a different area of life. So a classic example is if we've got a difficulty in our personal life, we might focus on our career. In the belief that when we come back to look at our personal life, maybe 3 months, 4 months later, we'll be feeling different.
It would have sorted itself out.
Exactly, miraculously. Now what we know, going back to Einstein's work, everything's energy, is that thoughts and emotions aren't random nothings. They are stored as electrochemical energy in the body. So, as we discussed in part 1, in my case, my thoughts and emotions, like I'm stressed around my job, I dumped in my tummy, completely unconsciously, but it started to manifest as physical symptoms. A lot of my clients suffer from IBS, migraine headaches, general feeling of kind of just being off kilter, fatigue, acid reflux, whatever it might be. That is electrochemical energy stored in the body. So if you're able to move that energy, emotionally, physically, mentally, your client will feel very different. And that was my experience initially with my teacher. So what are the tools that a shaman uses? A shaman uses a range of different tools which he or she pulls out of the toolkit, as it were, depending on the personality of the client, their needs, the severity of what they're going through, etc. Visualization, which is like super easy meditation for dummies. Sound. When a sound wave hits a light wave, energy is a light wave, both waves are transformed. Sound is a phenomenally quick and effective way of moving energy. Crystals. Thinking, working on perceptions.
So changing old beliefs. So working on first becoming aware of the beliefs and then changing them. That's a very big part.
Absolutely. And I use a separate technique, which I'll talk about in a minute, which employs a lot of the kind of shamanic beliefs, but really working on perceptions. But let's talk about that in a minute. The final technique that a shaman uses are plants. Chamomile tea is fantastic for a sore tummy, a difficult digestion. It's very calming. It's also very good for somebody who has difficulty sleeping. At the other end of the spectrum, you mentioned in your introduction ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, coca leaves, all these beautiful native plants in Peru, which have when drunk in the right way, ritualized setting, provide us with the opportunity to do our deep therapeutic process for ourselves.
So some deep inner connecting.
Exactly.
Just looking at where we are today and what is it that we've downloaded as beliefs that aren't perhaps serving us.
Absolutely, but also why am I getting these difficult headaches? Why do I have a difficult relationship with my mum, which I've had for 30 years and I can't resolve? Show me so that I can come to a place of peace for both of us.
Yes.
It can be anything.
Yeah. So really that is the work of a shaman is unlike our doctors, Western doctors are really, they prescribe pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals for the most part are made in laboratories, whereas a shaman, or maybe what Africans would call a witch doctor, I'm from that part of the world, so we have sangomos and witch doctors, and they use nature to heal nature, which is ultimately what we are. So you're just taking the whole of the organism, in this case a human being, and working with that and the different elements to heal. So when you say you work with crystals and maybe sound and these different rattles and shakers, and what is the idea behind that?
All to move energy.
Okay.
So it explains this in my book, The Shaman In Stilettos, in a bit more detail, but in a nutshell, crystals, in the shamanic tradition, because everything's energy, moving light, everything is constantly communicating with everything else.
Yes.
And we may be consciously aware of that. If you're a shaman, you're consciously aware of that. Or if I look back at when I was a journalist, I didn't have a clue about that, and frankly I wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
But crystals are some of the oldest substances on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
They've lived through a host of different environments, geographies, life experiences, we might call it. So they are fantastic at helping people release energy. A rose quartz, for example, is fantastic if somebody is getting heart palpitations or they're feeling very kind of tight in their chest.
Constricted.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rose, one of my favourites. So would every shaman gravitate towards his tools for his toolkit? Not you wouldn't all use the same. It's not standard, like you need to have a stethoscope and you need to have you would gravitate, like I feel crystals, I'm going to work with crystals, and I'm going to work with, is it personal?
That's a great question. The first thing to say is that traditionally a shaman is very connected with his natural environment, the environment in which he finds himself. So a shaman from the Amazon is going to have completely different flora and fauna available to him to a shaman from the high Andes. So yes, but there's this common denominator of energy. And they're very interesting, something I find very interesting. Shipibos are a tribe in the Amazon, a modern day tribe in the Amazon. They make designs which are directly comparable to the tantras which were made by Indian sages 2,000 years ago. They are exactly the same. These people never met. So why are the designs the same? The reason they're the same is because those ancient sages and the Shipibo shamans are able to see energy. So the tools may be different, but there's the common denominator. And all shamans will work with their hands as well to help people move energy too. So yes, it's extremely bespoke and personal. Each shaman is chosen by a teacher and then has to choose the path for himself. And each shaman will lean towards, they'll have their speciality, if we can call it that. In the same as you might have a heart surgeon. Some shamans, there are millions of them, but you might have a chunganero, who's somebody who specialises in working with the rattle, an ayahuasquero who works with ayahuasca, an achumero who specialises in working with San But there's a common
denominator there. So if sound, somebody might use a drum to make sound and somebody might use a rattle, but ultimately it's sound that is moving the energy. Yeah, correct. Okay. So, would you, as a shaman in London, have you drawn from what you have in the city to work in your tool bag? I mean, we don't have the same incredible nature around us, but would you need to draw from the city life to sort of move energies? And
where we were discussing this, where we live, we're blessed with a lot of parks around us. So for me, that's very important. Being able to connect with green spaces.
Okay.
But also my work's very tangible, and I mentioned earlier that working on perceptions. And what I find with a lot of people who come to visit me, they're like I was 10 years ago. Never heard of a shaman. What's that? I'm not sure what I think about that. So what I need, or I'm keen to try and deliver, are results quickly. And for somebody who, like a lot of us city dwellers, kind of lives in the head, and tends to have quite a lot of mental chatter, mental loops
Yes.
running us. I use a technique which is all about moving energy,
Yeah.
but whereas with shamanism you're using the portal of the body,
Mm.
with the technique that I use called quantum collapsing, you're shifting perceptions which manifest in the body, but using the portal of the mind.
Okay.
And in a nutshell, we tend to divide the world into good and bad. I like this, it supports me. I don't like this, it challenges me. Quantum collapsing is about asking dynamic questions to enable our perceptions to come to a poised, neutral place. So, going back to the example of one might ask the plant to help us heal a very difficult relationship.
Yeah.
Quantum collapsing can also help heal a difficult relationship by really breaking down the pressure points. I can't stand my mum because she does this.
Yeah.
Okay, everything in life is two-sided because everything's energy,
Yes.
and we know from quantum physics you can't have a particle without a locally non-locally related antiparticle. A wave of light has two poles, a positron, a positive pole, a negative electron, a negative pole. If you're feeling very negative about something, that is a one-sided misperception of that thing. Let's find the other side. In the same way, if you're feeling very infatuated about something, oh gosh, my sister's fantastic because she has this and I don't. Let's see the other side of this thing, which is creating envy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
So that is all about bringing our emotions to poise.
Yes.
Going back to what I said earlier, in our culture we tend to, if something's difficult, we'll look at something else and just hope this will go away.
Yes, ignore it. Put it under the carpet.
Yeah. When you are able to release the source of those emotions,
Yeah.
by really breaking down this one-sided perception, which
Yes.
is what creates an emotional charge, that energy goes.
So we can dissipate the energy. Can you talk a little bit about quantum physics? Because I know that this is a subject that is quite heady for a lot of people to get. So quantum collapsing is based on the principles of quantum physics.
Yeah.
So could you discuss a little about that in layman terms?
I think, as I said, really the only thing, certainly for my clients who are using this process, and I'm very big on not giving too much theory because I think it can end up, you can just feel slightly blinded by it all.
Yeah.
I think the experience, the proof's in the pudding, the experience is important. If somebody comes to me and after an hour they're feeling very different about a source of challenge which has been running them for 10 years,
Fantastic.
that's a good result.
Yeah.
If they don't understand the nitty-gritty of how we got there, who cares?
Doesn't
right?
matter. Yeah.
But going back to what I said earlier, the important things to know, Einstein's work, everything's energy. This isn't philosophy, this is physics. Energy is a wave of light.
I just want to say that again. So Einstein's theory on physics, it's not philosophy, it's physics, okay? So say that again for us, and just really slowly because I want you to get this. It is not philosophy, it is the nature of things, whether you're thinking about something today or in 100 years time in the future, whether you're Catholic, whether you're an atheist, it's not philosophy, it really is physics.
Yeah,
everything is energy. We are energy. And so in order for us to change our energy, meaning from mood or from a physical ailment, which is usually our emotions, our spiritual place, our physical, they all affect each other. So if I'm feeling really blue and I let that feeling go on and on and on and on, it will manifest into a physical illness, trying to wave me up, going, here, you took a long time to recognize this, and I'm trying to give you a sign here, help. So that's really how our body speaks to us.
Correct,
It moves into physical form because it seems to be the most obvious to us. We really ignore the thoughts and the emotions. And that's really what you work with. You try to backtrack for people, don't you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to be, I think sometimes people think therapy, and I don't offer Western therapy, but that any alternative therapies necessitate a huge amount of time, a huge amount of financial investment. It doesn't need to take time. We can do these things quickly. And that's very important for me and for my clients. I think we're all responsibility rich and time poor. So we need stuff that produces results.
I love that.
Tangibly, within a time frame.
Yes.
But energy, everything's energy. What is energy? Energy is moving light, a wave of light. Well, a wave of light exists because it has two poles, a positive and a negative pole. On an ionic level, a positron and negative electron.
Yeah.
You can't take one and expect the wave of light to continue to exist.
Yeah.
The two come together.
Yeah.
So when we perceive something as either good or bad,
Yes.
we're making a mental judgment which isn't truth.
Yes.
Because everything in life
Two
is
sides.
energy, and energy has two poles. So what the shamanic tradition and quantum collapsing is about is enabling you, using a variety of different techniques, to empower yourself by seeing the other side that you're missing.
Yes. Amazing. Okay, so once somebody comes to you with whatever it is that they are, maybe it's an illness, maybe it's an emotional turmoil that they're trying to heal, do you give them homework? Do you set them on their way to kind of incorporate some of this into their daily existence, their life, so perhaps they don't experience the same things again?
I think that's a great question. You know, traditionally, within a community, somebody who has an emotional difficulty or a physical problem will go and see the shaman. Shaman will help, and then that person will go back into daily life, and when they want to come back, it's their choice. They've been hit by another curved ball, they get it back. So my work isn't about creating a dependent long-term relationship.
Yeah.
It's about you come to me, we identify what we're looking to try and achieve together.
Yeah.
I'll give 100%, if you give 100% too, we're going to be able to crack it, whatever it might be.
Yes.
Part of that process is teaching you tools you can use yourself.
Okay.
Whether it's the quality question to ask yourself when you're starting to feel anxious or you're starting to feel depressed about the same old stuff,
Yes.
to nip it in the bud, or whether it's on the shamanic level, simple stuff like trying to spend some time in nature mindfully for 5 minutes every day. You don't need to set the bar unrealistically high.
Yeah.
Or whether it's a simple grounding visualization exercise. Again, 5 minutes, you don't need longer.
No.
Those are things that I'm very keen to teach people.
It's the quality and not the quantity again. Yes?
Absolutely, and being realistic, because if you decide, okay, I need to be meditating for an hour every day, and with the best will in the world, you're going to stop after 5 days.
Exactly.
It's too big of a leap.
I also think it's also, you know, some people always think it's they have these huge intentions and it's this big heroic journey they want to take, and it's not that. It's actually just the small accumulative effects, just a daily, even a daily, as you say, 5 minutes, just very peacefully meditating. And for most people, you'll be amazed at what 5 minutes does for you. I mean,
completely.
It's huge.
You're right. It's about the regularity.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
once we've achieved, going back to your question, once I've achieved, you know, with my client, once we've achieved what we're looking to achieve, then you've got some tools which you can choose to employ.
Yeah.
And then the next time you feel you need a bit of help, I'm here. And the way I work is very tailored to the personality and the timescale of the person in front of me. So some people might come to a couple of my London workshops and maybe they're 2 months apart.
Yeah.
And then I might not see that person again for a year. I might not see them again ever
Yeah.
because they've got rid of this chronic back pain that's been plaguing them for 20 years.
Yes.
Job done. They
Yes.
don't need me again.
Yeah.
Or I might see them in 6 months' time, or I might see them in 5 years' time, when they're feeling, actually, you know what, I've just been bereaved and I really need some emotional support.
Yeah.
I'm here. Some people might prefer to come for a bank of one-on-one sessions with me,
Yeah.
and after 6 weeks, again, we have a pause, it's time to assimilate.
Yeah.
Some people prefer to do one of my in-depth, very intensive retreats in Spain,
Yeah.
where we're using all the tools that I've mentioned,
Yeah.
from the quantum collapsing through to working exactly with the San Pedro,
Yeah.
and then that's that for them.
Yeah.
So it's very non-prescriptive how I work and how shamans work generally, and it's very much about empowering the person in front of me
Yes.
to make the choices of what is the right way forward,
Yeah.
as opposed to, okay, well, you've got to come and see me for 6 years, once a week.
Yes. No,
So
exactly.
it's a very different approach.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can definitely see that. And it does also, it feels very needed now in our world. I mean, look, you know, yoga just... a few years ago, people would, you know, raise an eyebrow or think, what is that? Is that a religion? Whereas yoga has become such a part of our lives today. And I'm wondering, do you think that, you know, the work of a shaman might enjoy the same kind of just integration into our society in years to come? Because still now, I'm very aware that the word shaman is still very new to a lot of people, and the work of a shaman is something that a lot of people may be skeptical about. You were, but down the line, do you think that this could be very integrated into our lives?
Why not? There's a phrase about God which says the greatest proof for the existence of God is our need of him. And I think that we are at a point throughout the planet, but certainly in the first world, where we're going through huge change. I think there's huge unhappiness. Mind, the mental health organisation, did a study last year, and they've predicted that 1 in 7 people will experience severe depression during their lifetime. And the way we tend to treat that in our culture is to medicate. There are other options. There are other options. Antidepressants tend to, in my experience with my clients, create other issues, specifically insomnia. So you've then got to kind of, then people might start taking sleeping tablets, and it can become a bit of a vicious cycle, which I think can leave people feeling very disempowered. Like, I can't cope unless I've got my 2 pills that I'm taking every day. There are other options, and I think the need for those other options is massive.
I completely agree with you, Anna. I just feel as though there is a huge need for people to sit down and become aware. Become aware of being, become aware of thoughts, become aware. And I think awareness is step number 1, because we can't move forward without awareness. We first have to be aware that we need change, that we're being affected and what is affecting us. And then I think that's a big part of your job, is to bring awareness, to shine some light on why physicalities are presenting themselves, and what is your life like that may be causing these things. So that is the work of a shaman, really. I mean, you're working with an entire being.
Absolutely, because we're interconnected. In the shamanic tradition, it's not, well, my mind is doing this, my body's doing this, and my emotions, God alone knows.
Yes, exactly.
They're all one. And the other thing I'd just say about awareness, I think for people that can sometimes be quite scary. The reason that if we're going through grief, or we're going through a divorce, or we're going through financial hardship, that we maybe look at a different area of life and run away from that.
Avoiding.
Is because we feel we don't have the power, the strength, the tools to deal with this. And what my work is about is not to say, okay, let's open this up, and then you're going to realise actually life's pretty damn bad. I've done this, I've made these mistakes, and I'm going to leave you. Okay, haha, bad luck. This is about being aware, but then moving through to shift. Because you don't need to be stuck. A lot of people come to me and they're very, very stuck, and they're holding stuff that they've been carrying for years. And I think the biggest thing that I'm very keen to communicate to people is that you don't need to be on meds ad infinitum. You don't need to be in therapy ad infinitum because there's something inherently wrong with you. Life gives us curved balls because we grow maximally on the border of support and challenge. If you only have support, you never reach your full potential. The challenge is there to teach you how powerful you are. And I have tools which people can employ for themselves to enable that to become their reality, for them to realise, wow, I am powerful and I can have the life that I want for myself and for the people around me. So that awareness, I think, can be scary for people because they think it's going to leave them stuck, but actually it's one step on the journey. And that journey doesn't need to take huge amounts of time, and that awareness doesn't need to, as I say, just become your new reality. Oh my gosh, I've done this and this and this, and I'm a really bad person, or I can't ever get out of this. No, not at all. There are ways, and these are ancient tools. There's evidence in Peru, in 5,000-year-old murals of people working with San Pedro, for example. There are petroglyphs which are 10,000 years old, which demonstrate the use of these techniques. Human beings aren't stupid. Aspirin is the oldest Western drug, it's 100 years old. These techniques are tried and tested. They work. And I think it's a great sadness that in our culture we've forgotten a lot of this stuff.
It's very sad. It's very sad because it is such a it's such a gift to humanity to have this level of. I would say it's actually a level of finding your inner bliss consciousness. Really, it's empowering you to live the most incredible life that you have to live, without all the layers of. It's a whole nother topic, you know, the social indoctrination that we undergo that somehow manages to take away our ability to see clearly. That's another conversation that we could speak about for hours. But it's so wonderful the work you're doing, and right here in the heart of London, which is really what is so magical about it as well. So Anna, her book, The Shaman In Stilettos, which is an incredible little book, and you can find this if you'd like to if you're interested in this topic, you can find this at all bookstores, is that correct? And Amazon as well, and at annahunt.com. So if you want to find out about workshops, retreats that are going on internationally, they're all over the world, not just in London, and consulting with Anna, you can go to annahunt.com. So Anna, thank you so much for joining us today. It really has been enlightening on the topic of shamanism, and I'm looking forward to maybe having you again very soon for the next chapter of your life.
Oh, thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much. So namaste, everybody.